when he loses the election in Michigan, decides that the way to deal with that is to accuse you of treason, to ask, isn't there some way to arrest her?
We should stop expecting that there was a bottom to the lengths that people will go to overturn legitimate election results and seize power in our country.
So, Madam Secretary, I seized on that for a couple of reasons. One, you endured a particularly brutal pressure campaign and threats outside your home or to your young family. But it also was directed by Trump. And I'm not ever clear on why he wasn't investigated aggressively after all this became known. He was tweeting his attacks against you, accusing you of treason for not overturning the results in Michigan. He was caught on tape threatening Raffensperger, who didn't find 11,740 or whatever it was votes in Georgia. What do you make of the fact that we're back at the sort of eve of another prosecutor who looked into the conduct, and we don't know whether it'll go all the way up to the top?
Well, look, I think the truth is the truth and the facts are the facts. And what you're seeing now is the more people look, as this grand jury has, at actually the truth and the evidence, they'll find first and foremost that the election was fair, legitimate, and the results an accurate reflection of the will of the people. And now moving forward, we need consequences for everyone. I mean, yes, there was one former president involved, but there were a lot of people involved in this effort that aided and abetted the cause. And so what I'm looking for are consequences up and down, from people who have lied in court to people whose lies and misrepresentations of what happened in 2020 have led to real threats and consequences in our lives, as your last segment detailed, for election workers all around the country. We need to ensure there are consequences at the state and federal and local level for these challenges and attempts to overturn democracy, and know that if there are not, it will not end. And as we look into the barrel of a 2024 election cycle, now is the time where those consequences must be pursued. The law is clear, the Constitution is clear, as my colleague in Georgia said, and now we need to see the law enforced and consequences realized, or else we're going to keep facing these challenges again and again, and people are going to get hurt.
Madam Secretary, what is the consequence of the Republicans' ability to memory hole the fact that the very same election they agree with Trump was rigged and stolen from him was the very same ballot that sent them back to Congress?
Yeah, it's quite an irony, and really speaks to the reality of these falsehoods, that they're actually, even if you just unpack a little bit of them, as you just did, they really don't hold up. You can't challenge an entire election for allegedly being somehow wrong or having problems, but only really have problems with one particular candidate in the ballot. So it varies no matter how you look at it. There's no legitimacy to the arguments that the 2020 election results, from members of Congress to the Senate to the presidency, were anything other than an accurate reflection of the will of the people. And it's time for people to start acknowledging that, and it's time for the courts to start holding accountable those who have not only not acknowledged that, but have not acknowledged it to dire consequences for the people of our elections.
One of the things we know that Fani Willis scrutinized was the fake electors plot. They sought to carry that out in Michigan as well. We don't talk about that as much because it's pretty opaque to us in terms of where the investigations into those individuals and then the plot as a national effort stand. But just remind us what that looked like in Michigan.
Yeah, I think it's important to see that there were people lined up to serve as what we call fake electors, to then be presented to Congress to be accepted as the representatives of the electoral vote of those states that actually don't represent the electoral vote that happened in Michigan and in many other states. But it was the action, it was sort of the tail end of a multifaceted effort to overturn the election results, particularly in battleground states, that the former president lost. And so it began with blocking the certification of our elections at the local or state level. Those attempts were then intended to leave for the ability of a full slate of electors to be presented or adopted by state legislators, and then presented to Congress and potentially accepted into the record by then Vice President Mike Pence. So it was a clear strategy that, frankly, we saw as it unfolded and we knew was the plan. And that's why, for us at the local level, ensuring that our elections were certified first and foremost, then ensuring that our state legislature certified or protected or didn't overturn those election results, then ensuring that the actual slate of electors made its way to Washington. All of that was our effort to defend against these nefarious efforts at every step of the way to enable Congress to potentially overturn a presidential election, which, like, again, the end result, the false elections are trying to enable.
So Neil, that scheme couldn't exist without Pence doing what Trump told us at speeches in Georgia ahead of the special election there, what he told us on Twitter, and what we know through testimony. He described even more colorfully with one of his favorite swear words on the phone with Mike Pence. Trump sits atop the fake elector block because he was the one screaming from the rooftops at people to do it. He was calling people at the state level. I think it was the peak of COVID. He was inviting them to the White House, if I remember some of the contemporaneous reporting. I know Jack Smith is humming along now, but do you think we'll ever understand the delay in examining Trump's role as the architect of the fake electors plot?
If you mean the delay by the Justice Department, no. I think it's incomprehensible to me that it's taken so long. I know we'll talk about this soon. I'd like subpoenaing Mark Meadows. It's taken, more than 2 years for the Justice Department to do that. And I understand there's a congressional investigation going on and the like, and you don't want lawyers to be crossed. But we've lost a lot of valuable time on something that's so central to our democracy. And, thank heavens for people like the Secretary who, bravely stood up and did the right thing. And the Secretary of State of Georgia, Rassenberger, as you said, did the right thing when it really mattered. It's one of the interesting things about Trump world is that, people would just laugh off Trump. You'd be like, oh, yeah, he's denigrating Muslims, or he's, blowing up climate or something like that. But nobody ever felt responsible to stop that. And when it came time for Rassenberger to make the call, he made the right call. When it came time for, amazing to me, Mike Pence to make the right call on January 6th, thanks to the advice of Judge Michael Ludig, Pence did the right thing. For once in his life, he was that broken clock that was actually right, and he stood up and did the right thing. Otherwise, democracy would have gone entirely off the rails. And that, to me, is kind of why the Justice Department should have been investigating this full throttle from the first minute that this happened, while this was still the Trump administration back January 6th and 7th, because, this is like, it can't just be that because of a couple of brave individuals, crisis was averted. We can't have this happen again and rely on officials to all do the right thing, and so the prosecution and the getting to the bottom of it is so incredibly important.
Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson, thank you for being part of our coverage today. We'll continue to call on you. Neil and Patty, stick around a little bit longer. Up next for us, more on Jack Smith and a subpoena for the man who had his fingerprints on every aspect of the Trump coup plot.
Customers. Just want to speak to a customer service representative. I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
Not representative.
Try again. I'm sorry.
Oh, there you go. You also need consumer stuff. Go talk to a real person every time. As nice as you, much nicer. Well, almost. Get the exact same coverage as the nation's leading carriers and 100% U.S.-based customer support starting at $20. Consumer Center.
Instacart shoppers know your order is more than just items. Instacart shoppers make it happen so you get more time to save a life. Your heart is the beat of life. If you have heart failure, then trust your heart to Entresto, medicine specifically made for heart failure. Entresto is the #1 heart failure brand prescribed by cardiologists. It was proven superior at helping people stay alive and out of the hospital. Heart failure can change the structure of your heart, so it may not work as well. Entresto helps improve your heart's ability to pump blood to the body. Just imagine what a healthier heart can take you. Don't take Entresto at pregnant. It can cause harm or death to an unborn baby. Don't take Entresto with an ACE inhibitor or allospirin, or you've had angioedema with an ACE or ARB. The most serious side effects are angioedema, low blood pressure, kidney problems, or high blood potassium. Ask your doctor about Entresto for heart failure. trust your heart to entrust it.
You love closing the deal, but hate managing your business from
You should
afar.
leave in.
You need to hire.
I need it.
Huh?
Indeed, you do. Indeed Instant Match instantly delivers quality candidates matching your job description. Visit Indeed.com/hire.
You can't put your feet on the desk if you go in and bathe again. So what's time she finish working? Who come and pick you up?
Sure.
She call you already? Huh?
Before you decide, with the Freestyle Libre 2 system,
5 o'clock in the morning, you wake up and you know where it's for not 1 minute.
manage your diabetes with more confidence and lower your A1C. The #1 doctor-prescribed CGM, Freestyle Libre 2. Try it for free at freestylelibre.us.
I remember Pat saying something to the effect of, Mark, we need to do something more. They're literally calling for the vice president to be acting home. And Mark had responded something to the effect of, you heard it, Pat, he thinks Mike deserves it.
He thinks Mike deserves it. The it was to be hung. That bit of testimony from the incredibly brained central witness in the January 6th Select Committee hearings, Cassidy Hutchinson, is just a snippet, just a little reminder of all that she has shared and disclosed about how central her boss, former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, is to every facet of the Trump coup plot, the planning, the knowledge of its illegality, the knowledge that it probably wouldn't work because there wasn't any fraud, and doing it all anyway. It's worth keeping in mind amid brand new reporting that Meadows was subpoenaed
There goes
in
Brian.
January by Special Counsel Jack Smith. That is according to reporting in the Wall Street Journal and CNN. We should note that it has not been independently verified by NBC News. It's a double bombshell, though, showing us how close Jack Smith could be to the end in DOJ's probe of the ex-president's efforts to overturn the 2020 election, and most definitely how close it is now coming to the ex-president himself. But we can safely expect the DOJ's demand of Meadows, who was held in contempt for refusing to comply with the January 6th Congressional Committee subpoena, that it can very likely set the stage for more court battles over executive privilege, in line with Trump's attempts to delay and obstruct, and potentially terminate.
Wait, what? Is that what I think it is? No. Tell me I'm going crazy right now. Or is that the seaplane coming in at 5 o'clock? It is 5:44. It's like 5:44 now. And the seaplane's coming in. Oh, wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's extra crazy. So that means that thing's reaching St. Croix at 6 something. I've never seen the seaplane this late before. What in the... Now that crazy sauce. That is a seaplane, I hear it. Bye, Pride. Yeah, I'm checking flight radar. I gotta be careful here because I got a phone in 2 hands. I got my phone here, and then I got This phone here I'm recording on. Yep, I'm checking for it right there. Why are there so many aircraft around here? Is flash on? Yes, it is. Why are they flying so late? It's 5:43. They never come this late. Like, usually the last flight is usually around, I would say, the last flight is always usually around 4:15. But the flight, what? I've never seen a seaplane here at like 5:40. And the thing is that they're taking off at 6, which is crazy applesauce. Well, that was nice because we did get to see and hear 2 horns. And we got to hear 2 horns and we got 2 departures right behind each other. I did not think the celebration would leave before Pride, but yeah, it did. I'm gonna rest it down real quick. Alright. That is the seaplane. I'm just gonna take a rest. Sit here, relax, and watch some Flight Radar, aka FL24. Okay, there are quite a few planes landing. There's Sea Flight that landed like 2 minutes ago. And then the training Piper 28. And then their cargo. And their cargo caravan. Which is insane because an Amerifly is still coming. 4 aircraft. And they're all arriving in St. Thomas. Well, at least 3 of them are. Okay, we still have Silver Airways to depart in 15 minutes. And then an American is supposed to depart in 25 minutes. And another one's supposed to depart in 3 minutes. And Ameriflight's supposed to depart in an hour and 10 minutes. Well, now an hour and 9 minutes because it's 5:46. But Spirit still has not taken off. And yesterday did leave